Alrighty, hello there, folks. How you doing? We're live. We're here. We're gonna be talking about something I'm sure plenty of people out there are pretty furious about. I'm gonna try to talk you down and try to explain to you what the process is here, um, and that it's not unexpected. But I understand everybody's frustration.
One of the great challenges in this
Sorry.
is knowing
So I understand everybody's frustration seeing the state getting another extension and all these things. But I would point out, and that's what I'm going to start out talking about right now for a short time here, is talking about COVID-19. Obviously, COVID-19 has changed things. It's changed. Well, it's just changed the game a little bit, hasn't it? And worldwide, the game has changed a bit, right? We're all practicing social distancing. We're all trying to, well, most of us are. And we're trying to flatten the curve, and we're trying to do all those things, and we're trying to, keep our hands clean and do all those things, right? And minimize the spread of it, right? So what I wanted to start out with, obviously that's going to come into play when I get to talking about, the extension. I know, I can't believe it. It's even to me, it's a bit ridiculous at this point, but it's like, well, COVID-19, the courts are feeling overwhelmed. It's you can't really gather in large groups. I mean, I'm sure it's creating issues, right? I mean, and there's no doubt. I'm not trying to downplay that at all, in any way. There's certainly going to be some issues in terms of the courts and how this is with not wanting to put too many people together, right, in a room. So the story I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys. Hello, Audra. Hello, Rhonda. Hello, William. Got your dram? Maybe I'll join you. Who else we got here? Hey, David. How's it going? Oh, TTM fangirl. How you doing? I'm going to pour myself as our friend William in the chat there might say, a wee dram. So today what we're going to be talking about, I said, obviously here in the beginning, just at the beginning part, I want to tell you guys a little story that somebody told me today. And I think this story, well, I think people should hear this story, and I think people should think about how you conduct yourself in this current period of time with COVID-19. Okay? So I'm going to tell you guys this story. State gets another win, and I don't know if it's a win, but yeah, it's, Hey, what's up, T1? So, as I was saying, on the topic of COVID-19, I heard a story today. You guys, I mean, I want to explain something. You guys know I'm an essential worker. I'm still in the field. I'm out there, making sure people have internet, making sure people have TV, making sure people, I'm out there fixing things that people basically melt down when they don't have it. Because trust me, people don't want to call me into their house right now. It's nothing against me personally. Well, maybe it is with some people, who knows? But for the most part, it's not that they have anything against me. It's just that they don't want anybody that doesn't need to be in their house at the moment, right? So yeah, that's so I mean, obviously I'm not going out on as many calls as I used to, but as an essential worker, I take precautions when I go out. Okay, when I'm not even just at work, but when I'm coming home from work and I walk into the store to buy whatever I may need at the end of the day on my way home. Okay, so what I do is every time I get out of my van and go into a client's house, I put on gloves and a mask. And that's what I do because that's me trying to protect others. The reason why I'm explaining this to people is because I think everybody should be taking it seriously. Because when I tell you the story I'm about to tell you, the thing you should take away from it is, oh my God, I don't want to be that guy. That should be what you're taking away from the story I'm about to tell you. And so that's why I'm talking about this real quick here at the beginning before we get to the extension for this day. So, okay. The way this story basically goes is a little while back, from what I understand, a couple weeks ago. So it was when this was relatively, when the reaction phase from the states and the governments were just starting to happen, you might say, or had just begun, maybe a week previous, right? A mayor of a certain city decided to have a little gathering, get together. It may have been a birthday party or something. And this gathering consisted of, mainly grandparents, people that are elderly, kind of elderly type of people, grandparents, those people kind of that age, right? Well, it turns out one of the gentlemen who was attending this get together, okay, had just gotten off of a cruise boat. He had just come back from a cruise. It was like a golf cruise thing where he was taking a cruise to go around and golf in different places, right? So he had come back to this party. And obviously this is early on, but we were pretty sure early on groups were not a good thing. However, the mayor of this particular city decided to have the gathering anyway. And at one point, the gentleman who had been on the cruise actually got up and spoke on the microphone at one point and said, congratulations to the mayor, whatever, blah, 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 whatever, right? He spoke into that microphone. Every single person that followed him on that microphone started showing symptoms of COVID-19 within 2 to 3 days. Okay? That guy didn't realize, obviously, and this was early on, but still, he didn't realize that he was bringing it in there. So my question for everybody out there is, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be that guy? Because let me tell you what happened. Several people got sick. Several of these elderly grandparent type people got sick. From what I understand, many have recovered, but I know one didn't. So once again, I ask you folks, when you want to go out and join a crowd and you want to flout the social distancing and you want to go out and party with a group of people and all that sort of stuff, or you want to go to some gathering, or whatever, where elderly people are, do you want to be that guy or that girl? Do you want to be that person? Protect yourself. And by protecting yourself, you protect others. And I can't, when I heard this story today, so many levels of holy F hit me when the person was telling me this story. Because number one, I'm going, how terrible for all the people at that party. Number one. And for the several people that got sick, right? And I mean, that's terrible. And then I'm like, oh my God, that dude didn't realize he had it. And he found out after that party that he was responsible for spreading it to several other people. That dude must have been wanting to kill himself. I can only imagine how terrible I would feel. Now, maybe, I don't know, the guy could have been a conscienceless monster, but if he's not a conscienceless monster, if he's anything like me, I would have absolutely felt terrible and horrible about that. So we have to be mindful, right? We have to be mindful. That's why I got the hashtag you're seeing down at the bottom there. See the hashtag there? You can't be a fanny, so stay away from your granny, okay? It's the elderly population that is at the most risk with COVID-19. Now, that doesn't mean those of us who are young are not at risk. That's not what I'm saying. But it's statistically, COVID-19 is more dangerous with the elderly population. So, folks, you just want to be mindful of these things. You don't want to be that person that ends up infecting several others. and to potentially have one of those others pass away. You don't want to be that person. You don't want that on your conscience. So do the right thing. That's all I wanted to say about that. Went out for the first time in 3 weeks last week. Wait. Okay. For shopping, I was terrified. Couldn't wait to get home. Yeah. The ripple effect. One stone in the water can start a ripple that touches all shores. Right. Exactly. It's very much like that, T1. Getting together in groups, folks, is not a good idea right now. It is not a good idea. Cheers, William. There you go, buddy. So here's the sad truth. There is no stopping the virus. I'm not saying stop. Nobody's talking about stopping it. What else do you have to say here? You might as well count on getting it. I do count on getting it at some point. I'm just hoping to slow the whole thing down. So I'm doing my part to slow it down. I do not think I'm going to escape it. I'm pretty sure I am going to end up getting it at some point. Just to, let you know, I'm under no illusions. The virus is only getting stronger. Okay. Hi, everyone. Just voted in Wisconsin, and it was very safe. That's cool. I clean everything when I get home regularly anyways. But, yeah, after 2 early St. Pat's performances, boy, I'm glad we stayed to ourselves and brought our own gear. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. I mean, that's mainly what it is. I mean, like, folks, when I go anywhere, right? Not just to the store, say on my way home, but if I go to get gas, I don't necessarily put the breather on because usually everybody's far enough away. So I'm generally okay with not putting the breather on, but the gloves go on. I won't touch a gas pump without gloves on because that's how many people touch the gas pump in a given day. A lot. And it increases the risk that something nasty can be there. Right? So that's even with gas, anything that people touch, anything that you can imagine a lot of people touch. Another reason why I put gloves on when I go into the store, because I don't want to touch the handle for the doors directly. So that's another reason why I want gloves, because I don't want to touch those handles directly. I mean, it's just common sense kind of things, but that's the way I am. I mean, you got to think about stuff like that. Gas pumps, things that a lot of people touch. It has an increased risk of having COVID-19 on it. Going to be a tough Easter. It will, unfortunately. I'm a goner if we're all going to get it because I'm very sure I'm going to survive it. Well, Rhonda, you might be surprised. Get very severe. Oh, well, I would say this, Rhonda. Those that just stay the hell away from it and stay sequestered for the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, and then when COVID eventually goes away, I imagine there will be a segment of the population that won't get it. I'm not going to be part of that segment. I know I'm under no illusions. I know, especially the fact that I'm working, even though I'm taking precautions, even though I deal with very few people, I just know that eventually I'm going to end up with this thing. But other people that aren't like me, that don't have to do what I have to do, there's a chance that they can avoid it by just staying away from it until it eventually dies down. The whole world is waiting for the same equipment all at one time. Absolutely. Good point, William. Let's see here. I could even get Verizon to come. I couldn't even get Verizon to come to my house, not inside. Daughter need Wi-Fi to complete her assignments. Just moved on 4/3. Oh wow, that's rough, Jennifer. I was actually I was having to go out and troubleshoot a Frontier problem recently at somebody's house. And I was having to fix these people's internet because Frontier was giving them the runaround. So I ended up out there fixing their internet for them, which included getting on the phone and giving a little bit of heat to Frontier. But they eventually figured out what the problem was. And so I got that customer their internet back. You've got gloves offered when buying fuel. That's cool. Miss Wee Lassie. Cool. Get on the train. Just don't touch each other or touch anything else. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. OMG gas. Didn't even think of that. Yep. Think about anything that a lot of people touch. Just doorways. See, everybody has to go through a doorway, right? So that's a lot of people touch a doorway, right? So you got to just think in terms like that. So yeah, that's why my gloves go on a lot now. I took a big pack of diaper wipes and poured rubbing alcohol in there. I carry them around with me everywhere I go and use them to touch everything right there. It's not a bad idea. Here in Scotland, it's the same story for our healthcare workers over PPE. Every hospital around the world is wanting the same equipment all at one time. There's just simply not enough to go around. That's true. Bring back full service stations. Let's see, 100% Erekose. They always wear gloves for gas. Apparently, that's one of the highest ways it is being transferred at the pumps and at the ATM. Yes, another one, ATM. Absolutely. That's something that a lot of people touch. Fortunately, with ATMs, though, they're usually, most of them, if they're an outdoor ATM, usually they're going to be in a position where they're going to get direct sunlight during the day at some point. And direct sunlight is most likely going to knock this thing out for any duration, to where it heats up the surface that COVID is on. The heat will, the sun sterilizes our streets. I don't know if you guys know that. The sun sterilizes the streets and sidewalks, because when the sun beats on any surface for a certain amount of time, bacteria and all those sort of things can't live on it. So the sun kind of sterilizes any surface that it can hit long enough. So, but anyway, I digress. Let's see. My point is, can't stay locked down forever. No, we can't stay locked down forever. I agree, Sapper Cop. We can take precautions, though. We can take precautions. We can be sensible. We can choose not to gather in groups for the time being. You know what I mean? And maybe postpone celebrations until post-COVID-19. But yes, for essential things like getting to work and making ends meet. I mean, I agree. I understand the position people are in. And so I understand that life can't stop. I mean, this is the tough part of this. This is what everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with, right? This is what everybody's trying to, figure out. We all need to carry on with life, but we also need to curb the spread of this thing. So, yeah, it's a tough dance, Sapper Cop. It is. It's a really tough dance, Basically, if you're in a category of people who have had flu vaccine, you are high risk. If you've had the flu vaccine, okay. I'm not sure why that is exactly. But let's see. Dude, thing just jumped big time. Paul Capaldi's here. ATM checkouts at the store. Yep. And you'll never guess who has shares in making the PPE. Our conservative government member. William's talking about Westminster, folks. How many pairs of gloves and masks do you get through each day? I honestly don't. I don't use a whole lot. I mean, I have one or two stops during the day, and if I go somewhere and then I don't really touch anything or do anything, I'll reuse that pair of gloves. And the masks, because I know they're in short supply, I've been kind of reusing the masks for a short time as well. So I'm kind of aware that our medical community needs things. I'm just trying to prevent myself from infecting others and giving myself a little bit of protection from being infected. So, so I hope that answers your question, Mr. Capaldi. The experts have already alluded to the fact that this may never go away. Our friend Magilla is putting some great stats up on Twitter. Yes, Magilla has been putting up a lot of good stuff on Twitter. I know Rule is also very, very concerned with COVID-19. And, him and I, Magilla and Rule and I did a show about COVID-19. If you guys are interested, you can go back. It was not the Sunday that just passed, but the Sunday previous to that. And you stay safe, Rhonda. I really want you to stay safe. That's how this virus is incredibly scary. Just by being a human means that you will get this virus. That's how it feels, especially myself seeing it firsthand as a registered nurse in Scotland. Yeah, I mean, I understand, and this thing is scary. I mean, I'm not denying any of these things. None of these things am I denying. This thing is scary. It does have a scary way of spreading, but simple things like, I mean, we're finding out that the mask wearing cultures, folks, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the mask wearing cultures here on Earth, namely South Korea, Japan, and I believe Taiwan. These are all three naturally mask wearing cultures. The people just wear masks prior to COVID-19 happening. They wore masks. Okay. They have flattened the curve. They're not even N95 masks, folks. They're just pieces of cloth that like wrap around their ears most of the time. And that is proving effective in stopping it from spreading through the air and stuff. So there's things that can be done. You know what I mean? There's things we can do. We can slow this thing down. We're not going to stop it, but we can slow it down. And all we have to do is slow it down so that our medical community has enough time and is not overwhelmed so that they can deal with it. They need the patients to come in over time, not all at once. And that's what we got to try to do for our medical community. So we help them help us, right? I have no illusions. This thing is scary. I understand, though, that we all are human and life kind of goes on and we got to do what we got to do, but take precautions. Try to make yourself as safe as possible. And certainly, like I said at the beginning of this video, in that story I told, you certainly don't want to be that guy, okay, or that person who ends up infecting several others and possibly having one pass away. You just don't want that on your soul. You don't want that on your conscience. You don't. I guarantee you don't. Showed a diagram today on the distances that speech, cough, sneeze, travel, go. Okay. Let's see. Please save diaper wipes for babies. Let's see. I don't understand why Wisconsin keep delaying the courts. Don't they file electronically? Yeah, it's one thing that I was going to bring up. I mean, it seems silly that they need any more time because they don't actually have to appear in court. But we'll get to that in a minute. Sun actually doesn't. It's interesting. Watched several shows that weren't about COVID-19, but that were about other things where scientists took swabs off the street and then swabs off of something that wasn't in direct sunlight. And the samples that were not in direct sunlight ended up having something grow, and the samples that were in direct sunlight didn't have anything grow. I mean, I can only go off of what I saw, but there may be things that maybe do survive direct sunlight. There may be a few. So, but that's a conversation for another day. It sterilizes me in the middle of August. Let's see. The thing is, he showed today was really scary. Okay, right. Oh, yeah, the guy, the doctor you were talking about, right? Let's see. So sorry to hear. Don't know where you are, but the stores around here are stocked. There's articles proving this. I carry bacterial bleach wipes that can open doors with these days, right? These are all precautions that are good, and they're going to help keep you guys a little bit safer. Because, yeah, it's those public things like handles and knobs and levers for doors and things like that. All those sort of things. Those are things that many people touch in the course of a day. So it increases the probability that there could be COVID-19 there. I'm a natural prepper, always been prepared. Let's see here. I guess my concern is at what cost? What good is it to finally get to come out of it if there's no longer anything to come out to? Small business is done. There won't be jobs. I disagree, Sapper. I think maybe some businesses may shut down in the short term here and ride this out. But there's other companies out there right now that are really setting themselves up for success, in my opinion. There's all the companies that are now out there offering delivery, that they'll bring it to your door, contactless delivery, all these various things, where they're taking the initiative and possibly even eating a little bit of money so that they can provide that service, so that they can stay relevant in this time. And I think when those companies pull out of the other side of this, Sapper, I think those companies are going to become like blue chip. I think because people are going to respect the fact that they stepped up. And when a lot of people were cutting back and stepping down, these companies stepped up, right? And so I'm thinking that's gonna win some now. But I do understand what you're saying economy wise, Sapper. I don't want to downplay that at all. This is a troubling thing for our economy. I agree with you, but you got. I mean, seriously, Sapper. If you were a doctor or a nurse looking at what's coming, you would be, shiting yourself, because if we aren't able to slow this thing down, at least if we can't at least get everybody to wear masks for 6 months. Right? Like the mask wearing cultures have done over in some of the Asian and your Asian countries or whatever you might say. And it's like they've done there. It looks like that is pretty damn effective. So we could then be doing that here, and then we could start kind of moving forward with life as usual. But we all got to still be mindful, right, Sapper? I mean, we got to still be careful and mindful of this thing. I'm not saying we're going to stop it, but we can slow it down. And we're seeing it clearly from 3 mask-wearing cultures that are already existing here on planet Earth, that they are flattening the curve. And it could be just as simple as wearing cloth masks over our nose and mouth. Right? I mean, I understand your concerns about the economy and small business, though. I'm not downplaying that at all. So, all right. Vaccine won't be anywhere ready until 2021. Vaccine isn't coming soon, folks. See, you can make your own wipes and carry them with you. Yep, you can even make your own mask, folks. They said a bandana, something as simple as a bandana, tied around the back of your head with the bottom tail tucked into your shirt collar. That right there would be highly effective. that alone, if everybody was doing that would be highly effective, because it would simulate what's going on in the mask wearing cultures that are already here on the planet, with us showing that they are flattening the curve. Stupid thing keeps jumping. Put wipes on your porch for every delivery guy. That's funny. Things will never be the same. Remind small business owners about stimulus relief. Yeah, small business owners, I think, will be able to come out of this. I don't think it's going to last forever, but it's going to be a couple months, and it's going to be rough, and it's rough. You know, it is rough. That's what I'm basically, yeah. I mean, and we're seeing right now that the companies that are stepping up, and like I said, offering like free delivery and things like that to keep themselves in the game and to to keep themselves in the public eye, and are taking that hit to continue to provide a service for the people. I think that's going to ultimately be appreciated in the end by the people. You know, that those companies were willing to do that, even though they were going to be operating at maybe a little less efficiency, maybe not making as much money, but they wanted to continue to provide that service to the people at a time when people were feeling scared and worried and concerned, you know? Tigers in New York have caught it and showing signs of respiratory problems. Really? Tigers? Interesting. Uh, let's see. 2000 virus. Okay. My son just came back from helping his granny mom. That's the one thing you want to watch out for, folks, is going and visiting your grandma, grandpa, and anybody in your family that's elderly. You want to keep those to phone conversations or online conversations or video calls for now, because, like I said, you don't want to end up going to your grandma's house to visit her and have a good day with grandma, and then find out 3 days later grandma's in the hospital on a ventilator. You don't. You just don't. I'm telling you, you don't. You don't want that feeling. It's. I mean, I understand it's hard to imagine all these things, that we have to think about all these things, but seriously, you don't want to be that person. You don't want that guilt. Yeah, you just don't. See, masks are stupid because you can go 14 days. Uh, Okay, Caden 45. Sorry, Caden 461. Research anything to back up what you're saying, because I can bring up research to back up what I'm saying about mask wearing cultures on the planet Earth right now. I can actually bring up information to prove what I'm saying. Do you have anything to prove that, what you're saying there? Because saying that there's 14 days of showing no signs, that's not exactly true. For some people, it may be 14 days, but for most people, it's somewhere in between 3 and 11 days, I think it is. So, but that's not the point. The point is the whole point of the why the mask wearing cultures are spreading it slower is because when people are getting it, they're wearing a mask, and so they're not just blowing it out onto everybody. They're not just leaving it everywhere they go. It becomes less contagious when you have that one barrier over your mouth and nose. It becomes less contagious. That's just what's happening. You know what I mean? I'll be interested in seeing any research you have that backs up your claim that masks are useless. If you have any research that backs that up, I'd be interested to look at it. Grandson left with friends. I told him now he can't come home. Well, fair enough, Rhonda. I agree with having COPD problems. Yeah, he certainly would be putting you at risk, especially if you went out with a group of people. That's unfortunate. Let's see. It's mutating. I think it's up to 8 different strains at the moment. Medical scientists are trying to attacking the stem, which is the common thread between all strains at the moment. They're saying sneezes go at least 10 feet. I suppose the force of the sneeze could potentially maybe send some microparticles that far. So, all right. So that's what I wanted to tell everybody. You just don't want to be that person that ends up, you don't want to be that person with that guilt on your conscience. So, all right, let's move on to this extension real quick. All right. So, I know everybody out there is going to be pissed off. Everybody out there is mad, that the state got another extension and it's all blah, 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 and I know you guys are probably furious, or many of you probably are furious. But I just want to remind everybody that obviously right now it's trickier with COVID-19, obviously being in effect and all that. And the problems it's causing, as we were just discussing. And so I'm not super shocked that the court was just all too willing to give time right now, because number one, the courts are already looking at a huge backlog. When eventually the restrictions and the shelter in place orders and things like that all start to get lifted, and they can start having hearings in court again and that sort of thing, there's going to be probably a bit of a backlog. There's going to be some issues. So yeah, I imagine they're all too willing to put things off right now because there's just nothing they can do. But on the other hand, I think that's silly here, because this is one thing that doesn't need to be in a courtroom unless they ask for oral arguments. It doesn't need to be in a courtroom. So they electronically file. So there's no need for anybody. There's no need for any two people to actually meet up to turn the state's response in. So, but as I've told you before, the judges in these courts, folks, they're not interested in the fact that the side. Let me put it another way. They want everybody coming to court prepared. They are not interested in having unprepared parties come to argue in front of them, because they don't want they don't want those parties to be able to complain later that they didn't have enough time, that they didn't have enough time to prepare or whatever. So what these judges and courts usually do is pretty much almost always grant extensions when they're asked for. I mean, it's just kind of their default kind of way. But eventually they will reach a point. Okay? But like I said, COVID-19 throws an interesting monkey wrench into the works here, in the way things are. Wisconsin doesn't have executions. They outlawed the death penalty a very, very long time ago. Oh, it's not. I'm having a wee dram with William here. So when I go to Scotland, William and I are going to go to a whiskey tasting. Right, William? Just like Jack and Victor. You got one where we get a scratch off card too, because if I win a trip to the distillery, you're going to go with me there too, dude. We'll drag Victor along with us. I don't know, T1. I haven't looked into whether or not they're postponing executions. I would think if there's going to be a large audience, that would be a problem, because the audience that gets together to watch a an execution and stuff, gets together in a pretty small room and pretty tight, into pretty tight, quarters there where they watch it. So I would think that's probably a problem. So I don't know. I just don't know. I haven't heard about that. Won't need to be dragged. Let's see here. Trump has no love for Gov Evers. Not that I like Trump, but he gave him a lashing today. Yeah, well, Trump is a symptom of a bigger problem with our country. And I'm not saying he's whatever, but Trump is a symptom of a bigger problem with the U.S., in my opinion. So, if I said at least 10 feet, some say up to 20 feet, who knows? We must need to do our best to stay safe. Tried to reinstate the death penalty in Wisconsin, but failed. Yes, that's true, Millbilly. If they did things all by the book, they shouldn't need 2+ extensions to respond. I agree. At this point, they've had plenty of time to consider their arguments. I think under normal conditions, they certainly wouldn't have gotten until May 29th, which is what the due date is now, unbelievably. But yeah. See, I own the distilleries and have many private barrels. You cannot worry about stuff you cannot control. I won't need to be dragged. Let's see here. Wisconsin is voting today, 6 feet apart. Good. Worry about yourself. Let God handle the rest. I'm talking about people handling for themselves. Well, I'm suggesting what people can do for themselves to help slow the spread of this thing. Why am I getting so much hate? Are you kidding me? Jeez. Let's see. So we are going to put Marathon back a couple of 3 months. No, we're not, Paul. Do not listen to the Mad Scotsman because he is absolutely mad. He's talking. His bum's out the windy. Paul, seriously, dude, your bum's out the windy, dude. Totally. You see, Paul, if you were watching any of the videos over on my other channel right now, Paul, yeah, I was talking about how I suggested that the independence movement in Scotland might think about moving their independence marches to online streaming events. There's been some talk about this. The fact that you can't pass COVID-19 through, YouTube chat rooms and stuff. But it gives people a place to gather and that sort of thing. Any of this ringing a bell for you, buddy? No, we're not postponing Mamathon, dude. I don't know why you're even. What the hell? Put down the crack pipe, dude. Seriously, I didn't know you were into crack, but put it down. Trump is a cure for our country's problems. We don't need a politician right now. We need a problem solver. I have no opinion about Trump. Not yelling, T1 computer stuck on caps. Whoa. She was raised being yelled at. Actually, thank you for moving on the main topic. Stephen Avery now. They've got extra time if working from home. They should have all the cases done. So that's another thing too, right? If you got nothing but time on lockdown, I mean, it's just. But then again, folks, steaming cozy. I'm not steaming. No, I'm not even buzzing. Anyway, it's okay, Erekose Wallace. Caden means no harm. I know he doesn't. I know. I'm just I'm going to stand my ground pretty firmly because I feel pretty strongly about this. So, I understand people's concerns about the economy, and it looks like the way forward to work to be able to maintain our economies, but to also slow the spread of this is by wearing masks. I have to point out what is painfully obvious for those that it's not painfully obvious for. So, anyways, but I'm getting off of that topic. We're on to the extension for the state now. Maybe Parliament, the reunion. What do you mean by that, Caden? You can stay home, not go out because others are out there working to support you by keeping the supply lines moving, etc. That's true. It's very true, Finn. Till this is over, Stephen Avery still suffers, absolutely. But that's why he's still got all of us, right? And now he's got a lot of people that are stuck at home because of the COVID-19 protocols who have time to actually look into his case even further. So this actually will maybe hopefully work in Stephen and Brendan's favor and not against them. Let's see here. I wear the mask. Trump's been the best president so far for a long while. It's just bad luck with this virus. I understand people like Trump, and I understand people don't like Trump. And I'm just going to leave it at that, folks, because I have no strong opinion when it comes to Trump. Other than I think his presidency is an indicator of something that's going on that hopefully will get addressed at some point in the future. Let's see, what was the reason for the extension? I don't even know. It's almost like it wasn't even asked for, but I don't know. It's weird. It was originally going to get extended 21 days, I guess, and it was going to be May 8th, and then suddenly it became May 29th. So I'm not really sure how that all happened. If we all do caps, it might help Squinty. Oh, yeah. You're funny, Ouija. Easy there. I've seen a lot of new people joining the groups on Facebook. Well, people are certainly going to have some time now. So that's great. That's awesome. Let's see. There's been some discrepancy with the answer date now. Is it May 29th? That's what the court record says, May 29th. Daisy Lady, I do not believe the case will be addressed with the crisis in the nation now. They will use it. They will try to use it. My mask is not equipped for. Let's see here. Does anyone know how Stephen and Brendan are at the moment? Yeah, as far as I know, Stephen and Brendan are fine. Brendan, from what I understand, over at Oshkosh, there's not even. From what I understand, they don't even have a reported case anywhere in or around Oshkosh. So, from what I understand, Brendan's perfectly safe, and from what I understand, Stephen is perfectly fine for now. There was that doctor there at the prison there at Waupun. But as far as I can understand, as far as I know, Stephen and Brendan are doing just fine. And Brendan even better because he's at Oshkosh. And as far as I know, I don't think they have any cases there yet. Yes, with the lockdown, my friends that said no to watching or did not have time are now watching, so there will be people coming on the truth train for sure. That's correct. They will push this case. No court open in the UK. Submitted yesterday. The virus is so small that that it can get through any mask. It cannot even be photographed. I don't know. I've never heard that, Paula. You'd have to show us the proof of that, the link to the proof of that, because I haven't heard that. I've heard N95 masks stop it very effectively. In fact, from what I'm understanding from the mask wearing cultures here that inhabit the planet Earth with us, I can tell that just cloth masks seem to be pretty damn effective. Maybe not foolproof, but effective. See, the operative word is effective. So yeah. Latest tweet from Buting. The court site date seems to be an error. Previous March 27th deadline was extended 21 days. Then the new order extends another 21 days, 42 days. Total equals May 8th, not May 29th. It was due on April 21st, right? Let me just see here. Extended 21 days and extended another 21 days. So you just talked about it being extended for 6 weeks, but it's due on May 8th, Paul? I mean, I know you're not a mathematician, Paul. So it's just, if it's just 21 days, let's see if we do that math. Well, that would still put us around. Anyways, I don't know if Paul's right there, but anyways, it has been extended. Whether it's May 8th or May 29th, it has been extended. So Paul's obviously been having a few of these. I think I probably need about 2 more to be able to be on his wavelength. Okay, gotta go. Central, great job. Hey, see you, T1. It's good to see you, buddy. Georgia court's closed. Yeah. Erekose, it doesn't take much for you to get off topic. Look over there. Let's see. I've heard this virus doesn't do well in hot weather. I've heard a lot of things. I haven't seen the proof yet. But from what I understand, this virus is essentially when it emits from somebody's mucus or whatever, right? The virus itself is a protein, essentially a protein wrapped in basically fat, a layer of fat, essentially. And that's all it is. That's why using alcohol, like hand sanitizer with alcohol breaks down that fat barrier. And that's why COVID-19 can't survive hand washing and hand sanitizer. Okay? Because it breaks down that, from what I'm researching and seeing, is that it breaks down that fat layer around the protein. And once that fat layer is gone, the protein is unviable. It can't function. There are 3 types of people on this earth: ones that are good with numbers and can count, and those that are not. As of 3 p.m. yesterday, it was 5.9. Looked up at 7 p.m. and it changed to 5.29. So yeah, the actual website's changed 5.29. So I'm going to go with what the website is saying. And if the website changes back to 5.8 or 5.9, great. But right now the website is saying 5.29. Here, let me just show everybody real quick. Really, really quick. Okay, let me show you guys. This is what it currently says. This is the date being shared by the Wisconsin website. You see this right here? Anticipated due date 5/29 of 2020. That's what the website is saying. So, you know. So that's what I'm saying. And like I said, folks, I know people get pissed off and irate about this, and I agree with you. I agree with you. There's really no reason why they should need more time. They don't actually have to appear in court. They can do this work from home of researching and reviewing the case record and all that sort of stuff. I mean, this is all stuff that they don't need to be in a courtroom to do. So, I mean, I do agree it's silly that they seem to be getting all of this time for virtually no reason, right? So, yeah, I know how y'all feel, but as I've said before, these courts are inclined to give ridiculous amounts of time. And the reason why they do that is because it's easier to do that and give ridiculous amounts of time than it is to fight every litigation when somebody comes back later saying that they didn't have time to prepare and having to go through all that over and over again. Now, because they choose to give so much time and make sure everybody gets to come to court prepared, it makes it a lot harder for somebody to claim that the appeals court judges were rushing them or didn't give them enough time. You see? And so that's why these judges, they err on giving too much time. They're preferred to err that way than they prefer to err by giving too little. You understand? That's their philosophy on it. So I understand it is frustrating. It really pisses me off because I really wanted to have it before Mamathon. You know what I mean? But no, here we are. I'm going to be waiting until 2 days after my birthday. Anyway, all right. So let's see. In the picture you have on the post for this live video, you have the actual documentation and the date circled. Yes, I just showed it too. So, let's see. Just when I am not Linda K, you are listening. In the picture you have, yeah. It was 5/9, but it changed a few hours later. Okay, so there you go. That explains why the discrepancy between what Jerry said and what has now happened. So I can't believe it. That changed twice. I mean, there's got to be a story behind that, and I'll see if I can see if there's one behind that, folks. But that just seems awfully odd. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's like I said, folks, I know how you feel. I know it seems like they're just taking too much time. And obviously this COVID-19 thing is now creating the situation where they're now getting even more time but remember, folks, you always got to remember, why doesn't the state want to file right now? Why is the state reluctant to want to file anything with the court right now? Because they have to explain why agents of the state would have given back bones to the victim's family. And they have to find a way to explain that in a way that the bones aren't the victim's bones so that it doesn't violate statute. And so anyways, you see how sticky this gets for them. This is why they're reluctant. They're going to stall and stall and stall for as much as they possibly can. But remember, folks, recently when there was a bunch of media outlets there in Wisconsin who were complaining that KZ was wasting time. They were complaining that KZ was wasting the court's time and KZ was blah, 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 because she was pursuing this bone issue, right? And suddenly all the media outlets were claiming she was stalling and she was prolonging the process. Remember all that? Who's prolonging it now? Who's prolonging it now? So keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind. They're stalling, they're pausing, they're whatever because they don't know. They don't want to answer this. They're probably praying that something will happen so that they don't have to answer. And they're probably, I think it's a foolish hope, but they're probably hoping. And they're just stalling as long as they can. So that's my feeling on it anyway. A link for what? What are we talking about here? So many things in a brief. I'm getting me and my kids into a more isolated situation, but they have no excuses. Because they have to explain themselves? Yes, absolutely, Caden. They are going to stall and hem and haw, and they're just going to put it off until the absolute last possible second, because they are not keen or eager to have to answer for what happened with these bones. They realize how bad it makes them look. And so, yeah, they're not keen. So definitely. They'll never finish this case due to the criminal liability on the state side. That could very well be. They'll never finish it. Yeah. Remember, Zellner gets to respond next. Zellner will get to finally reply eventually when we finally if we ever finally get the state's response to her original, motion. So, yeah, after the state's response, Zellner will have an opportunity to reply to the state's response. Do you know what she's talking about, Linda? I was getting ready to wrap up, but, All right. Hang on here for a second while Linda's getting that link so that she can share it with all of you guys. We're about to wrap up here. I mean, I've covered this, covered what I wanted to cover today and talked about the things I wanted to talk about. I do love scotch. Anyway, I've covered what I wanted to cover. I know people are getting sick of hearing about COVID-19. I get it. I know, folks. I do. I really do. I get it. And not everybody wants to hear about it. But I also see, like when I go on to job sites, where there's, job sites where it's still framing and everything, and it's not like a finished home yet and that sort of thing. I see lots of guys not taking precautions. I walk around, even when I go to the store, when I go to the gas station or I go to the store at the end of the day, I put on gloves and a mask, but I see lots of people who aren't and are walking around casually as if nothing's wrong. So I see that. I know that's going on. And so I wanted to get on and talk today because when I heard the client that I was talking to today telling me that story about what happened with the mayor who had the little get together and all that stuff, I was just like, that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. It's terrible for a lot of reasons. But I can't say it enough, folks. You don't want that kind of guilt on your conscience or on your soul. You don't want to feel it. It's not going to be a pleasant thing. It's better to just take some precautions, be careful, and do what you can to minimize the spread of this thing. As I say, I don't expect we're going to stop it, folks. All we need to do is slow it down. See, that already makes the task a little easier than stopping it. If we don't have to stop it, if we can just slow this thing down so that our medical community will have the ability to assess, diagnose, figure out treatment, and get it all worked out so that eventually down the line, when more and more people are eventually getting it, our medical community will know what to do. They will have more knowledge of it and will know what to do. So the whole reason why we don't want all the patients to come in the first week or 2 weeks, and the whole reason why flattening the curve is so important, is to make it so that we don't overwhelm our medical community. It's up to our medical community to take care of us, folks. So we have to do a little bit on our part to take care of them. We need to do that. And we all need to take that seriously. And as I said, I know many of you are sick to death of hearing about COVID. I got it. I wasn't going to talk about COVID. I'm not necessarily trying to make more COVID videos, but honestly, today's events, the story I heard, I felt it was necessary to share it with all of you, and to also get on and talk today about the extension, because I know that always generally gets people kind of fired up and pissed off. And I can understand that, but just remember, these courts take an attitude of they want to err on the side of giving too much time to prepare rather than erring on the side of giving too little time. That's their attitude towards it. So that's another reason why they're getting all these extensions. So there is a reason why. I know it's frustrating. I know it pisses you off, but hopefully you understand why. Wearing a mask if you're asymptomatic, then you won't infect others. Right. That's why I wear a mask when I go into people's house, folks, because at least if I'm carrying it, at least I'm not going to spread it to their whole house, or at least I'm minimizing the percentages that I will spread it to their house. You see. But not only that, by wearing the mask, I'm minimizing the percentages of me picking it up through the air. By wearing gloves, I'm minimizing the percentages of me getting it on my hands. So these are the things we do. It's about minimizing the percentages, right? I mean, if you want to look at it that way, folks, that's what it's about. Wear gloves at the gas pump. Wear gloves when you're going through a door that 100 people have used in that hour, right? 100 other people use that door in 1 hour. Don't touch that handle directly. Just common sense. Anyways. So yes, everybody out there, be safe. Obviously we're gonna keep talking about Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. We're gonna keep, the awareness up. Obviously, right now is a really good time, folks, for if you've got family members out there who have downtime because of COVID-19, suggest the documentary to them. Suggest that they watch it, and that sort of stuff. See how many more people we can get to take an interest in what's gone down with Stephen and Brendan. Use this time. Yes, there's downsides to it. Yes, it's not ideal and it sucks in a lot of ways for people to have to be sequestered. But also on the upside, people have time right now. They have time to look into and potentially get involved in things. So let's try to take advantage of that while this is going on. Because it isn't going to last forever. It's not going to last forever, folks. It's just not. So, alrighty, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you. And cheers.